right, so first, let me just share this data we're using. Trying to find the chat. I should access the chat now. There we go, there it is. Okay, so that's just an example, that's just some data that we're using as an example today. So you can save that by pressing Command S, I think, or Control S, and you can save it, and just make sure you save it as a .csv file. Has everyone got that? Okay, I hope so. All right, so can everyone see my RStudio screen?
Yep.
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 Yeah, I can't see the chat from what I'm doing. So if there's any questions, just interrupt me, or someone let me know if there's a question on chat, and I'll try and find it. So, all right, so today we are looking at this project setup, so how to organize your project. So first, if everyone can open RStudio, if you haven't already. And then you go into RStudio, you go into File, and you go to New File. Sorry, New Project. You go New Project, and you can, yes, I guess I don't want to save that. That's fine. I'm waiting for something to come up. There we go. All right, so you click in new, it's a new directory, so you go new directory. We're doing a new project, and then you just put it wherever you like. I'm putting mine on the desktop, and then on the desktop, and you give it a descriptive name. So, my beautiful project. So in reality, you will do this, say, for example, for your first chapter or your second chapter or any chapter of your PhD or your research project, and you will name it something that you will know, for example, looking at whatever what everyone's doing, but the gene expression of this or whatever, and you just name it so you know what it is. And you open your new project. Yep, and then you have your 3 screens by default. To get your other screen, you just click on this little thing here, and it'll give you a script file. So I'm going to work in Markdown because I like Markdown. So we don't stress too much if you haven't used our Markdown yet. We will cover it later. Like, I'm just using this as an example to set up your project. So you're going to new file, our Markdown. Just click OK. Cool. All right, and it comes up with this screen here. So for now, you can just get rid of that. So you make a new. So our Markdown allows you to make like combine text and code and make like really nice, pretty documents from it. So in order to actually use code in it, you click on this green button here, and you make a new, what's called a code chunk. So in there, you can write your code, and then you can execute it there. So I'm using the tidyverse package in order to run my examples. So you just, in order to run it, you either click this little triangle here, or you press Command Enter or Control Enter, depending on your operating system. All right, so that's the step. So you see you have nothing in your project. There's nothing here at the moment. So what you want to do is that you want to create little nice folders in there where you can organize your files. So you don't want to put everything in here where I have all your, you know, your data and your figures and everything, because you'll just have this mess of all these files and you can't find anything and it's horrible. So, okay, so I'm just going to go to the terminal. So if you haven't got this terminal installed, you can make a new folder using the RStudio, but I'm using terminal. So in order to make a new directory, so first you want to, the first thing you want to do is make like a raw data directory. So this is where you save your data into. There you go, and it will come up there. So again, you can also do it using the new folder, and you can just write it down here and press OK. So what you want to do now is that you want to save your the data that I just shared with you, the link. So save it into raw data. So I'm just going to do that now. CSV. There we go. So you see, I just saved it in there. So it's making sure it's a .csv file, and it's just the name is just the same as what it was. Okay. All right. So this is your first step. So whatever comes into this raw data folder, you don't ever touch. You don't mean you access it via here. You don't open it in Excel. You don't change anything in there. You don't do anything with it. Right? You don't modify it. You leave it as it is. So it's a very, very important thing to do. Like, you don't override it. So we're just gonna, the first step we can do is to just have a look at what the data is. So we don't really know what it is, but we know it's a CSV file. We don't know how big it is. We don't know if we load it into the computers, it's going to crash. What does it look like? Like at the moment, we can sort of tell, okay, it's a CSV file, so it's a comma separated file, so we sort of know what it is. But sometimes you have, you know, all these extensions and you don't really know what they are. So I'm just going to write a command in the terminal saying, have a look at this file. So I'm just going to, this is the path, and then I'm going to find the file here. So you can make it faster by going, if you tick the first letter and you just press tab, and it will autocomplete. So right, you say here, see here, this is where it is. It's about 80K size, so it's, you know, all right, so it's not too bad, it's pretty small. So have a look at the next one. Let's see, how many lines does it have? How many lines does this file have? Okay, so it's got, you know, 1,700 lines. It's pretty small. It's a pretty small file. And then the most important step, you have a quick look what it actually looked like. Quick look at the file, what it looks like. So, all right, so this is the head command, and it just shows you the first 10 lines of the file. You can see, okay, it's got these columns. These are the first 10, you know, the 10 rows. Saying, okay, well, that's what it looks like. So then you can, from that, well, the CSV really gives it away, but you know, you sort of know how to, but then it gives you an idea of how to read it in. So, all right, so let's have a look. We're going to go read CSV, and we're just going to read it into R. We're going to raw data. You can get the little thing by, if you press tab. Again, you get tab, and then we want to just assign it a variable. If you don't assign it a variable, it will just I'll just show you what happens. It will just open it up in here, but you can't actually do anything with it because it's not saved. So you want to assign it. So you do that.
Like, sorry, there is a question. I think that Camila didn't see how you import
How I imported the file. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How I imported it into R, or how I saved it?
Maybe how you saved it into the raw data folder. I think that.
Okay, so yeah, you just go to that link that I sent in chat. Like this, I think it's this link. And you can just save it there by using Command S or Control S or something. And you save it into the raw data folder. You can also right click and say save page as, and just make sure you save it as a .csv file. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know, Camila, did you get it? I don't know. She's trying.
All right.
Let us know if you have any issues. And
yeah. So to assign a variable, you make a little arrow pointing left. So and then you write a little variable name. So again, this is also good to have descriptive names. So you want to know what they are. If you name everything X and you don't know what things are, and also you would override everything. So here we go. I'm just calling it gapminder data, and you run the code. You either do this or you Control S, Command S, and now it's in your environment. And you can you click on it and you see, okay, it's got these columns, different columns with this data in it. All right. Also, I also forgot I have to save my markdown file, so you can name it something like, all right, so this is the first markdown, so it's the first one, so intro to project, and then we'll come up there. So the numbering system is really good because often you have multiple workflows, and you want to have a different markdown file for each workflow saying, well, this is where you read your data and this is number one. And then the second one is where you do your gene expression and it's a different analysis and that's number two. And then you can, sort of break it up. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Getting ahead of myself, sorry. All right, so this is your file now. It's in here, your raw data file. Your file, and now you can do things with it. So what do you want to, you can make a new code chunk. So what do you want to do with this data? Well, we're not quite sure, but say you want to use it and make something, do some, you want to extract a column or something because you need this column for something else. So you want to save a new file based on this file.
Can I ask you something, Legana?
Yeah.
Before you keep going, why did you do the first steps in the terminal and instead of doing it like using your console? Can you do that using your console? Why did you use the terminal to do the first, like looking at the data, the length and those things? Because
when you first have it, in this case, we know what the data looks like, right? So we understand, okay, it's like this, but it's if you have files and you're not quite sure what they are, it's just a good idea to just have a look in the terminal, like see how big they are and what type they are. Like if you have a file extension, for example, with XGF and you don't know what it is, by doing a simple terminal command like saying head, you can see what it is, and then okay, it's separated by this and that. We'll just help you read it, and you don't have to do it. It's just something that you can do.
Also, it's bash as well, right, Legana? So you couldn't write those commands in the console. You'd have to write them.
It's bash.
Yeah, so those were bash commands in the terminal, whereas the console would be R.
Yeah, it's a different language. You can run bash commands into R. You can do it like that. For example, if you want to make dir, which is just like you make a directory, you can do it like that.
So if you want to keep track, for example, if you wanted to keep track of those steps, like someone who doesn't have the experience, So you would do that, put bash and then do those first steps, and then so that, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to
so,
document it,
yeah.
if you want to document every little step, you can definitely do that.
Okay, thank
You
you.
can just do it like this, and then you can make a little comment saying whatever, making new directory or something, I don't know,
Yeah,
with bash. So
thank you.
that's okay. And delete this thing. Sorry, I realize it might be a bit confusing. I'm mixing bash and R. So okay, so we're just gonna make a new. Actually, now we can't use bash. I'll just use bash again. So make a thing. We're gonna make a new directory. And we just call it, this directory is just for intermediate files. So it's like a temporary file system type of thing. So you say, okay, I have my file, which is my raw data file, which I'm not touching, I'm not overriding, but then I want to have a subset of my data and use it for something else. So I want to put it into a different analysis or something, I don't know. So you just have a different folder, and I call it cache, you can call it whatever you want. You can call it temp, I don't know. And it would just create a folder again. And I generally save all my intermediate files into cache. So I can use that for further analysis, or so sometimes you want to do it. So if the code that you're running, the action that you're doing takes a really long time, and you don't want to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. So you just want to save it as a file, which you can do. So, or as I said, you need the data for another input. So for example, you have, you download data from UniProt, which, you know, you have your protein sequence and your protein name and a whole bunch of other different columns that you don't need. But you just want to save the sequence. So you can extract the sequence column and then save it as a faster file. And then you can upload it to whatever you want to do with it. So, okay, so that's my cache, and we go back to R. So what do we want to do? So in this example, we want to keep all the unique entries in the country column, and we save it as a text file. So we just want to keep all the unique names in this column here. This is just an example. You can do whatever you like. So, all right, so I'm going to show you what this looks like. You use the unique command. And this is the data that you use. I use a little $sign, and when you use a little $sign, you can, that tells you which columns that you want to select. So these are all the different columns in your data. So, okay, we want to select the country, and we're going to show you what that looks like. These are all the different countries. All right, so now we just want to save it. So don't worry too much if you're not following this code, or if you're not familiar with these things. It's just an example. There we go. Okay. And we just want to save it into the cache folder. So unique, we just call it unique countries. Text. And you execute that code, and then you can see it in cache, and then there it is. In that folder, you can click on it, and you see this is a text file, and there's like a new line for every country. You might want to, sometimes you want to upload species names, so you have a whole bunch of species, and you want to get the unique species name and upload them and make a tree or something that you want to do. Okay, so, and the next thing you want to do, say, okay, I want another folder to, you know, as an output folder. Say you want to make, you know, often you want to make and save figures, so to share with your supervisor, to show them how awesome you are and how amazing what you're doing, and impress everyone. So that's nice. So I'm just going back into Bash, back into the. Again, you can also do this. You can also make a folder here if you like. So I'm just going to call it figures. Figures. And then you have another folder there where you can save all your figures. All right, so we're just gonna make a figure. So we're gonna use ggplot. Again, we're gonna later on, we're gonna go and talk about ggplot and how to use it and how to make figures and all that. All right, so we're using the Gapminder data. I'm using my aesthetics. Aesthetics is just something that you use to create, you get your x variables and y variables. So I'm gonna go life expectancy. So what I'm doing here is I'm selecting, so these columns here. So you have these different columns. You have life expectancy and continent and all these different columns. So within ggplot, I am calling them, I'm calling life expectancy as a variable, as an x variable. And then I'm not going to get a y variable. I'm just going to color it in continent. And then we're just going to make an easy histogram. There we go. And that will show you just a simple histogram of the life expectancy in the different countries, in the different continents, sorry. So yeah, so that's just what it is. All right, so you have this figure. And now what you want to do is you want to save this figure into your figure file. So you just go gg save. By default, it gets the last plot, and because we just ran this, we don't need to say, need to. All right, so again, this is also good when you want to, if you have a lot of figures like me, I make a gazillion figures, so I'll tend to name them. So this is project, this is the first markdown. So okay, so all the figures here. Number one, we just call it life expectancy frequency .png. So it's naming things so you understand what they are is really important, because if you just call us figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, and you have a million of them, you don't know what they are. So I just like naming things. All right, and now it's in the figure folder. You just click on it, and there it is. You can email it to your supervisor, print it and put it on your wall. But yeah, so as I said, that I numbered this document and the figure, because often these projects can be really large, and it's a good idea to keep to separate them. So what you can also do is in your project, you can make like a little README file. So which is just something that you can, so if you're sharing this whole project, you have a little README file which you can just make, using a markdown. You just make it, call it README or something. And then here you can just say, this project is about blah. It's about project management, whatever. But in your case, it'll be like a little descriptive thing of your project. So I'm just gonna, let's say README. All right, so I'll just show you something. I'll just share a different type of screen. If I can do that. I'm just going to show you an example of one of my repositories. So I'm sorry, I'm using all these different terminologies and stuff, and we haven't really covered everything, but so this, I'm not sure if you can you see this this page, the repository page?
I can see your dog.
Yeah.
My dog?
Yes, you kissing
No,
your
I
dog.
mean in the like it's a picture of you with your dog.
Oh, sorry, am I sharing the wrong screen? Sorry, I'm sharing my desktop. That's just my sorry about that.
No, this
All right,
was
can you see this one now?
fine. Yes.
All right, good. All right, sorry for the self spam there.
Mhm.
Zoom bombing. So this is just this is one of my projects that I did is for my first chapter. So this is pretty much everything that you see in a normal RStudio project, but I just haven't saved the data. So this is my README in the file. My README file, and it just says, okay, this repository, blah, 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 it contains this and this. And then you have all these different documents. So say, this is my first document, and it shows you, you know, the first time, my first markdown is this, my second markdown is that. And it just runs you through what they are, and you can sort of click on them. So I'll just show you what you can do. This is just a very quick introduction to GitHub, which is really nice. So this is your raw document, raw markdown. So you see it's all what you normally see when you open RStudio. So it's just the code blocks, and here is your different headings and some descriptions and some text. And then you can actually render it really nicely. So it shows up as a pretty document. So which is what this is just like a rendered document of it. So we're gonna, these are all teasers because we're all gonna go into this later, but you know, this is sort of quite a nice thing to do, and this is how you can use your, you know, you make your figures and include your figures and all that. But yeah, so what you can note here is that I didn't upload any of my raw data. Like, you don't want to upload any raw data on there. So I just have my raw data on the cloud, and then you can just download it using this command, and then you can run everything. So if you check out this, you know, if you save this project into your thing and you save the data, you can rerun all of my analysis, like by just using rerun. So this is like really good for reproducibility and all that stuff, and everything's nicely organized. And I've also got a folder with scripts, like all your different scripts. When you get a bit later on, when you start to make your own scripts and functions and stuff, you want to, you know, organize them as well. So okay, so I'm just going to go back to my RStudio. Okay. All right, so we're just going to go into the next step, into the next thing about where to go for help in your.
Maybe
Sorry?
we can pause a little bit here and see if everybody managed
questions
to do it. But I don't know. I cannot see people, so I don't know. If you have any questions in the chat.
Are there any questions so far, and do I need to go back to something or explain something? Otherwise, I'll move on. Okay. All right. So the next section is how to find help in R. So, okay. So you see, I've been using all this package, the tidyverse, and all these different functions like unique and ggplot. They're all functions. You may not know what they are. So how do we find help? What do we go? What do we do? Like, first of all, you start at the top. So, all right, so this is the package. So this is the package that we're using, tidyverse. So first you want to see, you want to look at package, the vignettes of the package. So vignettes are like documentation files. They're written by the authors of the package, and they usually include tutorials and examples of what the package is designed to do and how to use the functions. So I'm just going to use the console here. So for example, when you just click vignette, just use the vignette function without any arguments, it comes up with all of the things that you have installed, all of your packages you have installed, and you see all the different vignettes available. So you go, okay, so these are all the ones available. So you say for this package there's 2 vignettes, and this package has 3 vignettes, and you go, okay, All right, that's nice. But I want to really know what vignettes are available in the package tidyverse, because that's the one that Legana's using, and I'm really confused. I don't know what it is. So you're just going to go vignette, and you go package. Oops, I can't type. Package equals, so you put it into little quotation marks, tidyverse. So you can see, okay, so we have 2 vignettes in here. So we have manifesto and paper. So this, you know, I'm just going to look at welcome to the tidyverse vignette. So you can do that by going vignette again, oops, and then saying paper. And then you can, it should come up, and you can see, okay, this is the title, these are all the authors, this is a little summary. You see, this is what it is, this is what the tidyverse is, and then it just has some descriptions of how to install it, you know, what it does, and all that sort of stuff, and all the different functions it contains, what packages it contains, and all of the references. So that's really nice. But say, okay, I'm using a tidyverse and I'm using one specific function in it. So I'm using ggplot. And then you can look at that. I'm using both ggplot, and I'm also using read CSV, which is also part of the tidyverse. So saying, okay, what is this? Like, how do I find more information about this? What does it do? What arguments does it take? You can see a little bit of stuff that comes up there, but you know, it's a bit hard to read. So you're going to go, okay, I have my question mark. I'm going to type in the function name. And then it comes up saying, okay, this is what it does. It reads this file into a tibble, which is just like this is a tibble. It's like a table, like a pretty table. And you can see these are all the different variations. So here we go, read CSV. This is the file, column names, and it has all these different things of what you can actually do. And then if you scroll down, you can see all the different arguments, the descriptions of the arguments. So the file and you know what it all is, what you can do with it. And then at the bottom, you have like some examples. And then you can see, okay, so this is like your first contact where you go, okay, this is how I do things. All right, sometimes you have functions, you use functions and you don't quite remember the name. You go, oh, okay, it was read something, I don't remember. All right, so you can do a double quotation mark and you can just type in read. And this provides you like a result of all the different functions that use read, but it also provides you, it also shows you all the functions that have read in their description, right? So it's not, but it just provides you an overview of where to find your function. So this is the first one that comes up. And then you go back to the vignette. So, okay, this is the read R. And then you go, all right, this is the vignette for the read R. And then you go through it and you go through it and you go, okay, read CSV is in there. And then you can, it's a bit hard to see because of my so there we go. Here we have the read CSV part. And then we can sort of look it up and go, okay, that's what it is. So you can also look up the special operators. So before you can see that I used this operator, right? The little assign thing, and you might not, know what it does. So you can look it up. So you can go, but you have to put it in quotes or in backticks. So I'm just gonna look at it in quotes. So you have the quotes. And I'm looking at the assign, as you see, okay, it's an assign operator. So this is how this is how I can use it. I can point it left, but I can also use it pointing it right. And then there's some description of what it is. All right. And then you can also use it using backticks. So these are backticks. This is just the same thing, comes up with the same result. You can just use quotes or thing. So if you don't know where to begin at all, what packages do you use? What functions do I use? What do I use in order to run my analysis, to make my analysis? I don't know. you can have a look at this. I'm just going to share it in chat. You can have a look at the current task views. So this is a maintained list of packages which are grouped into fields, so it can provide a nice starting point of list of packages. So you can see if you open a file, you have the genetics, Bayesian, graphics, social sciences, and there's all, and then you can follow and have a look. And so I'm just going to have a look at the first one. Bayesian, okay, this is all lots of packages, all related to Bayesian inference models and methods. So there's a whole heap of them, and they provide, it's like a good overview. So you can do that. So that's one thing, and then you also have the one where what if your code doesn't work? What if you use a function and I've looked at the documentation, I've looked at the vignette, I'm still confused, I can't make it work, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. You can Google the issue. So very often the answers that you're looking for have already been asked and answered, so you can Google. Usually this brings you to something called Stack Overflow, and where it's like a forum type of thing where you can ask, where you can find questions about code and things like that. If you can't find the answer, you can try asking your own. It does have a guide about how to ask, a good question, because the people there are a bit strict about what type of questions they, how to ask questions. They're going to say, I don't understand. They'll want you to provide a small reproducible example, so they can, figure out what what your problem is. And I also want you to, clearly and concisely describe your problem. Saying, okay, I'm trying to extract column X, on this data, and I don't know how. And then you just have a little example of your data. So I just provided you a link to say how to ask the questions. But of course, you can also join our Slack on the Code Ask Slack and ask us. And we will, do our best to help you and provide links and all that. So that's sort of it for me. Do we have any questions, confusion, comments, tears?
Nice work, Legana.
I was wondering, I don't know how do you install the terminal tab? I think that when I did like the update of my R, all of that was lost, and now I'm blanking.
You want to know how to open it, or
how do you get the terminal tab next to your console? I don't find it.
Probably in the preferences. Let me have a look. This is where we just Google it, because I don't know.
I think if you go Tools, Terminal, New Terminal.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. It's also in the preferences. You go to RStudio preferences, and then you get console.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Found it. Thank you.
It's okay. So I just like having it there because I interchangeably use the terminal and R quite often, so it's just handy. You can put the bash commands into your markdown, but it just clogs everything up because often it's like something that you don't want to do again. It's just something that you want to have a look at the file or look how big it is, and it's just easy to do.
Yeah. There are help cheat sheets. Oh yeah.
Yeah, cheat sheets are really good too. I didn't talk about them. That's a good idea, Lorenzo. Yeah, I do that too. Well, sometimes. But we will go into the whole knitting thing later. So knitting the documents is where you render the documents and they can look pretty and all that. So we'll go into that in the next few sessions. Okay, Cans, any questions? No?
No.
No?
Thanks, Legana. That was really good. Thank you very
That's
much.
good. All right.
Still downloading your package.
Mhm.
So, am I still on mute? Oh.
No, now you're on mute.
Sorry, the remote's really confusing because this is one button. But anyway, I said I still haven't downloaded your package.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You should though. You should though, especially if
Yeah.
you're looking at microbiome data. Anyway.
Yeah. Who would do that?
All right. Well, yeah. Well, this has been recorded, and I think it's going to get uploaded to YouTube. So I'm sure I've flown past some things, and you know, some of it might have been a bit confusing. So you can go back to our YouTube channel and have a look at the recording if you want to go back, or you can also feel free to send me an email or find me on Slack or anything like that. I'm always happy to help.
Oh, Kevin cannot talk. And so he's saying, I will read your message, Kevin.
I can read it, yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, but you can read it out loud because I think it concerns everybody.
All right, so yeah, Kevin just mentioned that, you know, he's in the office, so he can't talk. But next week, Lorenzo will be presenting object classes in R. So how to fix one of the most frustrating error messages, and there are many in R. So it's part of the data structures section.
Lorenzo, you sign up. We didn't put you.
Wait, what? That's okay. Cool. Well, I hope that helped, and yeah, good luck with all your projects, and you know, it will all make sense once you start going and doing things and clogging up everything with millions of files, and you're going, what was that? What was it that person said back then? You know, go back to it.
Yeah, it's definitely a very important part of doing coding, right? Because it helps you, like having that foundation, that strong like project management really helps you in the future.
It really does, yeah. Especially when you're using similar things. Like I still go back, I'm like almost finished with my PhD, and I still go back to code I've written in my first chapter like a million years ago. And because I've organized my files and named all my files, I know, oh, okay, it's over here. And I go back to this markdown and go, oh, there it is, copy paste, yay, and reuse it. So it's very nice. Like if it wasn't organized, you just spend hours going through it and you wouldn't be able to find it.
Yeah, I can confirm that. Yeah.
You can even clone the GitHub projects. I can just shape them again. But
yeah, using this with GitHub is really great because you can have it online, and it's just, yeah, we'll go into that.
Cool.
So
let's see you next week. Thank you,
thank you all
again.
Thank you all for coming, for paying attention.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.